The tragic downfall of Les Gold from Hardcore Pawn isn't just a story of success and fame. It's also one of betrayal, heartbreak, and unexpected turns. From his early days to building an empire with American Jewelry and Loan, his life was full of ambition and grit. But even fame couldn't shield him from both personal and professional dangers. Now you never threaten us ever. Do you understand that? Who the hell are you coming into my store threatening my son's life? That's when we took control and subdued this guy. Chaos. Pay attention as we reveal the real story of the rise and fall, and the shocking event that forever altered their empire. Les Gold, a young dealer from Detroit, was born into the pawn business, and by the time he was old enough to comprehend the value of a dollar, he had already made his first sale. Imagine being just 7 years old and already working hard. That is how early the aspiring businessman began selling in his grandfather's store, Sam's Loans. He learned how to haggle and handle all kinds of deals in that shop on Michigan Avenue in Detroit, where he saw leather and brass. He also caught a glimpse of a sinister secret that he kept for years until fate revealed it. Sam's Loans later changed into something else entirely, a pawn-themed restaurant called Gold Cash Gold. Venture didn't last forever, closing its doors 6 years after it opened. But the ambitious dealer had bigger plans than themed dining. And by the time he was 12, he was already flaunting his, "I don't know if we did it, if he did it, or if he really bought it from us." But because he was so angry that he had to go, he was buying whole pizzas, slicing them up, and selling them at school for a profit. That kind of thinking set the tone for his future. The Detroit native officially entered the game in 1978 when he opened American Jewelry and Loan in a shopping center on 8 Mile Road. Fast forward to the early 1990s, and he took over a 50,000 square foot building that had once been a bowling alley and moved to Greenfield Road, which is still close to 8 Mile. Over time, the shop expanded into a massive operation, with 5 locations and over 1,000 customers passing through its doors every day. The seasoned pawnbroker didn't do it alone, though, as his wife Lily, whom he married in 1975, and his 2 children Ashley and Seth joined the company. Seth, a University of Michigan graduate, headed up marketing and introduced new tactics. He even joked that the store would still be depending on Yellow Pages advertisements without him. In the meantime, Ashley, who had a business degree and a Diamond C certification, joined the family business as a co-owner and worked there for more than 15 years. American Jewelry and Loan wasn't just a local success. It attracted national attention when they began airing commercials on daytime television, including The Jerry Springer Show. This attracted the attention of Richard Dominic Springer, the former executive producer, who approached the owner after Springer left, about making his pawn shop into a reality show. And that's the hardest thing to teach my staff and kids, is to take the emotion out of it when you're buying it, and bring it in when you're selling it. The astute businessman agreed, and that's how Hardcore Pawn came to be. Started airing in December 2009, the show quickly became popular, attracting millions of viewers. The family trio ran the show both literally and figuratively, while managing everything from rowdy patrons to strange items brought in for Hardcore Pawn. Some couldn't help but notice how much the show resembled another pawn-based reality show, Pawn Stars, which aired earlier in 2009. Critics accused the show's creator of stealing the idea, but he defended his show by saying it was more genuine and unpolished than Pawn Stars, which had a polished appearance. Hardcore Pawn was about real people, real struggles, and real deals. The head of the family argued though there was internal conflict. One of the most significant on-screen dramas occurred when Seth attempted to sell the Pontiac location behind the founder's back. The patriarch was furious when he learned of this, and tensions between father and son ran high. Despite the criticism, the show flourished and became a mainstay on True TV, with viewers tuning in to see what outrageous item or outlandish customer would show up next. One episode even featured 2 horses trotting through the showroom. Even though it wasn't forgotten, things didn't go as planned with longtime store manager Rich. Rich had been with the shop's owner for more than 25 years, but after a disagreement on the show, their relationship soured. Rich apologized, but he was eventually phased out, which led some fans to speculate that he was removed because he had become too popular and was taking away the attention from the Gold family. They wanted to visit and looked at the circumstances of all my Bobby Johns, another employee. Later revealed that Rich's priorities changed once the cameras rolled. He spent more time posing for pictures with fans than actually working. Eventually, Bobby started appearing more on the show while Rich's presence faded. According to Bobby, Rich's wife even caused trouble by posting nasty comments about him on social media. So the senior pawnbroker and Seth had to step in. Customers noticed that we have 40,000 items in the back, so there are 40,000 stories. And I have a very special family. Despite the drama, Hardcore Pawn continued to attract viewers, and by the 6th season, the show was averaging 2 to 2 million viewers per episode. At its peak in 2013, the show had over 3 million viewers, including celebrities like Aaron Paul from Breaking Bad who stopped by the store. One of the more notorious moments occurred when the business owner purchased the van used by Dr. Death Jack Kevorkian, which was connected to more than 100 suicides. He later sold it for a modest price. Rich was eventually fired. Over the years, there have been instances of theft and betrayal in pawn shops. One particularly memorable episode depicted the moment when the seasoned dealer learned that Joe, a trusted security guard, had been stealing from the shop. Bobby later confirmed that what viewers saw on the show was real, adding that working there felt like being part of a family. Fans thought the $5,000 profit was a bit morbid, but it was just another example of his unique approach to business. The Detroit businessman's reputation went beyond the pawn shop when times got tough. In 2013, he wrote an autobiography titled, What It's Worth, Business Wisdom from a Pawnbroker, which provided insights into his life and business philosophy. The book became a bestseller and ranked 4th on the New York Times list in the advice and how to category. The success of the show led to spin-offs like Combat Pawn, which focused on a gun shop close to a military base, and Hardcore Pawn Chicago, which featured a pawn shop run by two brothers. And even though these spin-offs were popular, True TV eventually shifted its focus to comedy programming, and Hardcore Pawn was not renewed after its 9th season in 2014. Even after the camera stopped rolling, the Gold family continued to run American Jewelry and Loan, and by that time, they had amassed a modest fortune, with an estimated net worth of over $5 million. This is a big problem, Chicago. So here's what I want you to do. Gather your staff and tell them that the goal of today is sell. Sell and sell. In 2023, a rumor that the pawnbroker had died went viral after a TikTok video falsely claimed he was dead. However, Seth quickly dispelled the rumor by posting a video with his father, demonstrating that he was still alive and well. The tenacious businessman even took the opportunity to thank everyone for their concern over the years. This Detroit icon has seen it all, from pizza slicing school days to running a multi-million-dollar pawn shop. The head of American Jewelry and Loan has always maintained a delicate balance between growing the business and managing family relationships. He involved his wife and children to ensure that the business remained a family affair. And despite the ups and downs, he has remained a fixture in the city's business scene. Known for sharp deals, a non-nonsense attitude, and the occasional bit of controversy, Hardcore Pawn may have ended, but his legacy in the pawn world is far from over. He saw early on that Seth and Ashley had different strengths that could benefit American Jewelry and Loan. Seth's marketing acumen brought in new customers, while Ashley's knowledge of gemology and business administration added an extra layer of intrigue for viewers who tuned in not only to see what was being pawned, but also to watch the family dynamics unfold. Despite their occasional disagreements, they collaborated to keep the operation running smoothly. Despite the occasional controversies and difficulties, the founder continued to grow his business empire, and by the time Hardcore Pawn closed, American Jewelry and Loan was a well-known name in the pawn industry. His ability to adjust to shifting market conditions and willingness to embrace new opportunities ensured continued success. And in addition to operating his pawn shop, the Detroit businessman became a sought-after entrepreneur. His autobiography further solidified his reputation as a business leader by giving readers useful advice and lessons from years of experience in the pawn industry. However, what actually happens when fame and family collide in a business as unpredictable as pawnbroking? When ratings decline and tempers flare. Hardcore Pawn was one of those reality television shows that people either loved or hated. He was a speaker and mentor who frequently shared insights on business and entrepreneurship, offering advice to aspiring entrepreneurs. A front-row view of the hectic life inside a Detroit pawn shop called American Jewelry and Loan, where drama, shouting matches, and strange items rolled in every day. The show ran for about 6 years, spanning 9 seasons, before abruptly vanishing from the air. Naturally, fans began to wonder what went wrong. Was it the show's first episode, which drew in about 2 million viewers, the most watched premiere on television? The pawn shop owner wasn't just any random guy running a business. He was a third-generation pawnbroker who knew how to attract attention. The shop was a family affair, with his son Seth and daughter Ashley helping run the business. In 2013, the show had a solid fan base, with over 3 million consistent viewers. But despite its popularity, everything came to a grinding halt. By 2014, fans were left wondering what could have caused the abrupt cancellation. Handled marketing, while Ashley oversaw the jewelry department. Add in some intense sibling rivalry, and you've got all the makings of a must-watch television show. However, behind the scenes, things weren't always as easy as they seemed. One of the most memorable scenes on Hardcore Pawn featured Rich Pyle, a longtime store manager and fan favorite, who worked at the shop for more than 20 years before the cameras arrived. Rich was a beloved member of the cast, until he was suddenly fired. Rich wasn't doing his job properly, according to the shop owner, who pointed to a time when he left his post during business hours. The boss said that this small infraction, along with a history of warnings, led to Rich's abrupt dismissal. Rich didn't go quietly, though. He argued with the manager about his years of devoted service, and whether the punishment was appropriate for the crime. Fans were shocked, and many took to social media to demand answers. My question is, why wouldn't he file a lawsuit? If his laptop was stolen, the police report doesn't make sense. Perhaps he wants to see the security tapes because he doesn't believe we have them. Former employee Bobby Johns later disclosed on TikTok that Rich had been on probation before being fired. According to Bobby, tensions had been building for some time, and Rich's actions, such as prioritizing his role as a television personality over his work, didn't help his case and fueled the fire. The situation reached a boiling point when Rich allegedly made a costly mistake by allowing a customer to leave with valuable gold jewelry without proper verification, which, when combined with complaints from both customers and staff, sealed his fate. Rumors circulated that Rich was also involved in financial misconduct, with some claiming he had been diverting company funds for personal use. His wife had apparently posted negative comments about him online, which the shop's management wasn't thrilled about. Rich's departure was a major plot twist, but it wasn't the only scandal to rock the show. The pawnbroker had a reputation as a tough boss, and his no-nonsense attitude frequently put him at odds with his employees. So whether true or not, these accusations and fabricating records to cover his tracks added another layer to the drama surrounding his departure. However, as the shop's door remained open, so did the floodgates of new challenges and rivalries. Scandals, suspensions, and sibling arguments. Tony, who was suspended for using derogatory language toward a female coworker, was confronted by his boss about the incident. Tony later apologized, but the suspension demonstrated that disrespect in the workplace would not be accepted. He also had high standards for customer service, and mystery shoppers were frequently used to assess how well employees treated customers. One such evaluation found that even family members, such as Seth and Ashley, weren't insensitive to criticism. He pointed out areas where they could have done better, highlighting the value of keeping customers happy. In contrast, Karen, their cousin, frequently received praise for her professionalism, which upset Ashley. Throughout the series, Ashley and Karen's rivalry was evident, with Ashley regularly undermining Karen in front of customers. Her relationship with Seth was also strained, and the siblings were constantly at odds, argued about how to run the store, with Seth frequently putting himself in the position of the business's brains. Despite their disagreements, they were able to keep the store operating smoothly, at least most of the time. Some theories about why the show ended suggested that it had to do with family dynamics, implying that the ongoing conflict between Ashley, the owner, and Seth made it hard to continue. Others suggested that the show's declining ratings were the cause, pointing out that viewership fell after Rich left. Claimed that, although the owner of Hardcore Pawn insisted that his show was more authentic than Pawn Stars, which focused on rare and historical items, Hardcore Pawn highlighted the gritty everyday transactions of a real pawn shop. He frequently defended the show by arguing that true television simply wanted to shift its focus to comedy programming, leaving little room for reality shows like Hardcore Pawn. Meanwhile, comparisons to another pawn shop-themed show, Pawn Stars, didn't help. Consciousness spin-offs like Combat Pawn and Hardcore Pawn Chicago attempted to capture some of its magic, but never quite achieved the same level of success. In the meantime, Rich went on to host a show on the National Geographic Channel called Meltdown, which focused on recycling precious metals. Although the show only lasted one season, it allowed Rich to stay in the spotlight for a little while longer. Hardcore Pawn depicted the struggles of regular people trying to make ends meet despite its abrupt end. After the cameras stopped rolling, businessmen Seth and Ashley continued to operate American Jewelry and Loan. He even wrote an autobiography titled, "What's Worth Sharing: Insights from My Decade in the Pawn Business." Seth was recognized for his efforts, winning awards such as the Pawnbroker of the Year award. And he also started programs to help people with disabilities find work, demonstrating that he was more than just a shrewd businessman. Ashley, on the other hand, chose to go it alone. Her entrepreneurial spirit paid off when she left the family business to launch Pawn Chick Shopping, an online and physical jewelry store. She now has tens of thousands of social media followers and is still growing her brand. Is family really the best business partner, or does it ultimately cause more problems than it solves? Share your thoughts below, like, comment, and subscribe for more fascinating insights.